It's Valentine's Day, and dare I say, love is in the air as we enter our 12th draft in the big board, again, February 14, 2024. And we are going to draft some rookies today. We're going to draft some players, of course, that are moving around in free agency, and some guys that we already know where they're going to end up, where they're going to be in 2024. But I am going to talk about, in particular, a lot of rookies out there that have really bad ADPs, and people are really in the bag for them just because they like the team in college. So we're going to talk about all these guys today, and let's get into it. Let me move myself over to the draft board. Picking in the 4 hole today is going to be the spot that I have after a lot of picking in the back half of rounds, but we persevere here in the big board, and positive vibes is always here on Splash Play after. I got to tell you guys, if you watched yesterday's stream, I see the chat here. Chat already lit up here nice and early, talking about me going nuclear. Funny as hell, the Blake Corum stuff. Look, man, ultimately, what I've realized going through the analytics yesterday, being shown to a lot of people right now that are not Splash Play regulars, and I have to adjust my approach in that reason. Of course, I'm never going to change who I am. I'm going to believe the things I believe. I'm going to give the takes that I do, landing upon them with the best information that you could possibly have, landing on them with years of ability, doing this research, working with some of the best analytics people at Football Outsiders, and then frankly realizing that I knew as much, at least about some of the offensive skill position guys, as some of those guys there. So I will do my best to try to balance it out here. But fucking somebody yesterday commented on the video, and they're not going to comment anymore because I mute people on the channel. I just like, if you're not going to be somebody that I could ever foresee participating positively in what we do here at Splash Play, I just mute you. So for you guys who aren't muted, congratulations, you're great. Let me make the pick here, and I'll give you guys my anecdote. The pick's Justin Jefferson, by the way. I'm happy to take Jamar Chase. Reports, again, going around saying a thing that we already thought was going to be the case, that T. Higgins likely to get franchise tagged by the Bengals. So I would start to assume that's going to be the case in your builds. T. Higgins, is he going to sign the franchise tag? Is he going to try to push back? Is he going to try to hold out, force a trade? Those are question marks that we have. But for right now, I think the best information would be that T. Higgins likely to come back. So if you're drafting him in the hopes that he goes somewhere else, finally becomes a wide receiver 1, would not be a thing to do that. But yeah, basically somebody comments in the video yesterday, and again, I could tell that this must be somebody who's much older and also doesn't realize that, like, I'm a 39-year-old man, and they're like, somebody should wash your mouth out with soap. Like, I know we've made jokes about getting some of the boomers that come in here, some of the negative Nancy kind of patois that people are throwing out at me, the phraseologies of older white men that you can tell in a chat, but wash my mouth out with soap. I'm not even the most profane person, I'm sure, on the internet, but I think I haven't heard that one and heard in a while, and I can't imagine saying that to another grown man. So just different audiences coming into Splash Play, and if you're here live, if you're a regular in the Squirt Squad, if you're somebody that knows what the Squirt Squad is and is a regular in chat or in the comments, you're in my good graces. For all the new people, I don't know, man. You gotta earn your way in. At some point, though, when you end up seeing Splash Play, every stream is premium, you're going to know that I've just given up. I'm just like, I'm not going to try to cater to new people. You can't wash my mouth out with soap, you old fuck. Take your fucking old balls, put them in your asshole. Give yourself a dog in a bathtub, you oh, fucking man. I curse. The boys are ready. Look, it's Valentine's Day. How could he not be ready? Love is in the air. Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins. Again, no rookies have gone yet that I would say are gross. Maybe one coming up in my eventual spot that could be perceived as a rookie that too high of an ADP. Marvin Harrison, the one that I'm thinking of here. Harrison, I guess, is the one rookie in these first 2 rounds that you could say, hey, he's going there. He's the only rookie that's going in that range. But he's also the only guy where you really look at him and you go, okay, like, are there real question marks about Marvin Harrison? And I tend to think no. Marvin Harrison goes to 17. I think it is ADP, if you really want to kind of start to not just beat up on Blake Corum, who we can all universally agree, worst ADP, only idiots tout him. I think we're all on the same page there. For the other players, though, like the rookies who are at their ADPs, they're all really frothy this year. Like Marvin Harrison is really frothy. I still think he has the ability to pay it off. But you see Diggs here. Diggs now up to 20. We'll make our pick. Rashee Rice on the board, the guy that I think is obviously not a rookie, but one of the most universally, to me, overvalued guys. Brandon Ayuk, potential chance to move teams this year. His brother posted that on social media, as we talked about. Debo, not a guy I'm dying for either. Josh Allen, not a guy I'm going to get. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is going to be my pick. Rashee Rice, the low ADOT, not a thing that does a lot for me. Really, the big thing for Rashee Rice, though, that I have concerns about is that somebody else comes in, upsets that target share. If he's not, making the year 1 to year 2 leap while keeping that same target share or hopefully improving on it, I just don't see how Rashee Rice pays off this price tag. And that is one that I don't want to full fade him. Again, if you want to get exposure to guys, you got to take him at ADP. We always say that here. And I think Rashee Rice, perfectly fine player who did perfectly well this year. But in terms of the guys going around him, like I'd rather take a flyer on Harrison, I think, and him coming in and being Justin Jefferson from day one. That's sort of how I feel about that. Why does the TV always give up on me? I want my fucking Blake Corum thumbnail to point at and mock throughout the course of the video. For some reason, I switched over to Fios, and now my internet connection for the TV is constantly getting rid of my thumbnails. Streamer problems for sure. All right, whatever. Blake Corum, the new mighty mess. Yeah, similarly good at running back as well. We'll talk about him when we get to his ADP. Right now, I'm keeping an eye out for all the rookies coming up at ADP and going to talk about them as we go. The point being for Marvin Harrison, I think, look, you make the claim here, a rookie paying off the price tag that he would have to pay off. Very rare thing to see for sure. But I would say for Harrison, I think there's a shot. I think there's hope. He's very likely to come in and be a wide receiver one for whatever team is going to draft him because the capital they're going to have to use to get him, like, basically necessitates that. The question then becomes, do you go to an offense where, like, it's got real juice? And that's the part where I'd say some risk on Harrison, but I'd still be willing to take him. So Debo, Pittman here. I guess we got to build Niner stuff. If Niner stuff's going to look you in the face along with Justin Jefferson, I'm not going to pass that up. Let's add Debo into the mix here. Again, not the biggest fan, but really just have to take guys where they are and try to take guys that are not going to be your favorite players always, even though obviously I'd always like to get my favorite guys, the rookies in particular, but it is what it is. For Harrison, I guess really the concern is that I don't think it's a talent concern. Everything I've looked at, numerically for him the last 2 years, he's great at every level, plus EPA receiver, 10 to 20 air yards, under 10 air yards, over 20 air yards. Like he's great. He avoids tackles, maybe not the best, but Quentin Johnson did that really well. And that didn't matter for his outlay in terms of his rookie year. So for Marvin Harrison, I think that he is unfortunately fairly appropriately priced in terms of what I expect the single game ceiling to be. But just, it's frothy. It's all frothy for these guys. Good start, says Ben. Yes, a good start. If you are going to assume that the Niners, are going to keep going in the right direction. I've read enough articles this week talking about the Niners championship window, some generalized concerns for them about just not being able to do it one more year. Guys are getting older. Kittle's getting objectively pretty old. The offensive line, pretty old, and might have some guys that I think they're going to have to potentially cut. Cap is also really bad for the Niners too. So that's the risk point for the Niners, but obviously you expect them to be a contender with how good they played in the back half of last year. Playoffs maybe showed some warts for Brock Purdy, a lot of interceptable balls that he left on the table there that just weren't intercepted. But I think for them, I'm comfortable taking this buy-in on the Niners, especially if you're going to be able to get Debo in the third round. Debo in the second round, I don't love it. Classic piss boy. Love the start. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does God here Spags crushed anybody yet? No, I just, can't even get my thumbnail up on the screen. So I'm failing at everything I'm trying to do. But no, I'm in positive spirits. Again, it's Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is for lovers, as we always say here on Splash Play. And only on Splash Play. It's the only show that's ever once said that. Thumbnail coming back? Thumbnail back! Here we go. Blake Corum looking over his shoulder. Here's the thing about Blake Corum, too. I hate his hair. I just don't, I don't... And I know, granted, look, I'm now permanently going to be skewed against Blake Corum. I get it. But I really do think that Blake Corum is a player that has hair that I don't like. And also, just again, one thing on an analogy, which I was going to save until we actually get to Blake Corum's part in ADP, which will come up at some point here. I would say for Blake Corum, and it's something I've thought about with running backs for a while, running backs are like Nepo babies. And I don't think I've actually made this analogy on stream before, but I do think for them, it's like, Nepo babies, a lot of spots where running backs get great volume. It's like the same thing for a Nepo baby where they grow up and it's like, yeah, you're the child of, I don't know, of fucking J.J. Abrams, and you get a lot of opportunities in Hollywood. And yeah, that's it. Like, that's what a running back getting 5 goal line touches is a game. That's what a running back getting fed 20 plus touches a game is. But then it's, what do you do with that? Like, are you a Nepo baby that then has a lot of talent and then does some really interesting projects and doesn't just get cast because your dad's in the movie? Or are you like The Rock's daughter and you just get put in WWE and you're a general manager because your dad is like a very important person to the company and you can't act and you can't do anything? I think that's where, to me, I have some questions. So, but we'll talk more about Nepo babies in a moment here. Travis Kelce is going to be my pick. Again, think he's a little bit undervalued. I think he will come up more reliably to the front end of the 4th round, if not the 3rd round safely, now that people know that he's coming back. But I think at this point, to me, wide receivers, I'm okay taking an Amari Cooper again. Zay Flowers, the domestic violence issue, not a great sign, but probably doesn't have a legal impact for him this year. But I would say for Kelsey, to me, I think he's just appropriately priced, and still the ceiling is going to be there for him week to week. I would kind of expect it to be a similar situation to last year where they probably don't put the full pedal to the metal, and especially if they have like a stud wide receiver coming in outside, like that's going to hurt Travis Kelsey's outlay. All right, Zay Flowers goes, CJ Stroud goes, Mahomes goes as well, so we'll not be getting him for cheapsies on the way back. You know what? Like, it's just this kind of day. It's Valentine's Day. We got to find our loves. And yeah, I could take a Jaden Reed. I think that would work and make kind of an interesting team here. But what's a good way to beat Brock Purdy, Stacks? Anthony Richardson, the love of my life. Let's go. Let's go. The jersey's back. Ladies and gentlemen. I say ladies, and we know. Gentlemen and gentlemen, let's get this thing on. Nothing like bringing in my boy AR on a day of love. Don't forget, buddy, I still love you. Doesn't matter that you got hurt after 4 games. Doesn't matter that you're way too overpriced right now. Though CJ Stroud's going at 49, I suppose appropriately priced. But no, we are going AR here. Love of my life. And I sniped Vaporware. Sorry, you better hope that Michael Pittman moves in free agency. If you didn't want Anthony Richardson to go to me on Valentine's Day, don't let him go before the turn. You got to take him at 44. There we go. Sorry, Vaporware, though. I apologize, but it's Valentine's Day. I just want to get Anthony Richardson. I want to grab him by his cheeks and go, mwah, 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 mwah. Give you big kissies. No Odunze. Tyler knows. Let's get our guy AR. What do you think about more skinny stacks and fewer team onslaughts? So team onslaughts are good for teams where there's a consolidated target tree. Like for the Niners, I still think an onslaught makes sense because it's going to. Well, I guess we could assume that Kittle going to be a little bit older, so maybe dial him down a little bit. But the ball's going to be going to Kittle, going to Ayuk, going to Debo, going to Christian McCaffrey. So you know that pretty well. So if the Niners have a good year, like they're going to kind of trade ping pong off those kind of days. I do think with where Ayuk and Debo are priced this year, obviously McCaffrey as well at the 101, kind of think that has a little bit less appeal because you're not getting these guys cheap. So I would say for onslaughts now, you're probably looking for teams where it's like that Niners situation, but they're on the upswing. So who can have a consolidated offense that's cheap right now? And, that's going to be teams who are taking on some warts, where you're taking on Daniel Jones coming off the ACL, a shot to play. And actually a very good article that I would encourage you guys to read. Our guy Sam Sherman over at Establish the Run, a very good article working with one of those, one of the trainer guys who does a lot of social media content, but going through all the various injuries and guys' expected timelines and all of that. And they did feel like in that article that Daniel Jones is a pretty good shot to be playing week 1. So I think if you're going to take an onslaught of the Giants, and again, this is like a theoretical thing. I'm not touting the Giants right now, even though I think they are cheap and very reasonable to get to. If you then get that right, where the Giants end up being a team that emerges, let's say the Eagles get bad next year, the Cowboys losing Dan Quinn, it fucks them up. The Giants take a leap forward, end up being a team that's probably not the Niners, but maybe adjacent to that in some way. Then you're getting that entire onslaught for basically free, where you could then trade off, I guess besides Saquon, if we assume Saquon comes back, but pretty good shot he doesn't come back. So you're getting Daniel Jones with Wandale, with Jalen Hyatt. Like you're getting a lot of guys in the consolidated target tree. I think that's something that makes sense. To a lesser extent, Pittsburgh can Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Najee for free. Jalen Warren, can those 4 guys consolidate the offense? Maybe Freiermuth if you want to throw it in. But I think that's where the onslaughts have a little bit more appeal. It's just like guys who are, or teams rather, that are like cheap. But, for the known quantity teams like the Niners, it's like you have to pay a premium for the onslaught. Anyway, what do you mean watching Splash Play together wasn't the gift you wanted for Valentine's Day? Look, if you're with a woman that doesn't want to watch Splash Play, then I guess you're just with a woman then. Let's see how that goes. I mean, Kittle's falling here. He doesn't make sense for the seam at all. Really getting bled out at wide receiver for the umpteenth time here. Umpteenth time. Jesus Christ. Tough phrase for me to say. Kittle not cheap enough to take him at this point, I don't think. Kind of thinking that Tajay makes sense. Hopkins could also make sense. Do you think Hopkins is in line for a resurgence this year? I'm going to reach for Hopkins because this avalanche in rooms lately at wide receiver has been really bad for me. We took 2 deviations here in the first 5 rounds, which I will say you really feel the pain of taking 2 deviations from wide receiver in the first 5 rounds more than ever this year. But if you want to get guys that you like I like AR, it's Valentine's Day. I had to get him today, but like really hurts a little bit, I think, to have those 2 rounds of not getting receivers early on. Aaron Jones is fine. Slash play French. Look, I mean, I can tell you guys that I don't think this is a pretty revealing statement to make. Also, we passed a rookie that I'd like to talk about too, but I would say that for me, I've definitely had weird things on in the background while jerking off. I don't know. I guess I've had like TV on in the background. There's one point I remember where I hooked up with somebody and then Louis C.K. was on in the background, which double canceled now in hindsight. but I feel like there's weird things on in the background. So I think Splash Play, it's possible that we've been on for somebody. Probably not the focus of their intimacy, but for Valentine's Day, who knows? I'll do some sexy ASMR if we need to. It'll be splash plays and squirts tonight, that's for sure. I can only hope. That everybody's forcing their significant other to listen to this esoteric fantasy football show that does not want to grow because I don't want to deal with new people. All right, coming up here, running backs on a run. Love Tajay at his price. Also for Brock Bowers, kind of think the same thing for Marvin Harrison Jr. A little bit overpriced, but still you're paying for the upside. Brian Thomas, more questions about him for me, but still fine play to get to. Okay, pocket to take a running back. Ramondre, though, I've taken enough of. I've actually not gotten a lot of Christian Watson so far this year. So I'm going to go to Christian Watson here. Team so far, AR at QB, unstacked. Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, and then Travis Kelce at tight end. I like the team. I have to get Purdy, obviously, but we're going to hopefully not go on a run of QB before I pick next. Would like to get Purdy in this build. I don't know. Wow, hot take. Brian Thomas could be like a Laquan Treadwell to me. So the one risk for Brian Thomas is that he didn't earn targets at a high enough rate. And this is something our guy Adam, who's been in the chat a little bit more recently, our Ladd McConkey fan amongst us, where he defends Ladd McConkey because he's like, Ladd McConkey didn't earn a lot of targets because Brock Bowers is there. And I kind of fundamentally think if you're a guy who's like of real talent, you're going to earn targets closer to the star player, like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. Malik Neighbors earn targets at a very high clip. I'll pull up the numbers here just because don't want to talk fully out of my ass for this one, but I know it's over 30%. Yeah, Malik Neighbors, 31% target per out run rate, and then Brian Thomas, a 23% target per out run rate, which would be the lowest of everybody in the class besides Adonai Mitchell. So Brian Thomas really didn't earn targets well. The critique that you would have, or I guess the upside for him would be, if you're going to grade him out, is that he didn't earn targets because he was with possibly one of the best receivers in college, who might possibly be one of the best receivers in the NFL, and Malik Neighbors when he gets there. So I think that's where you could sort of give Brian Thomas some cover. But I think it's a legitimate question. Like, if Brian Thomas is good, I think his target share should be 28. Malik Neighbors should be 29 or 30. It should be flatter, I think. So that's how I feel about it, based off of some of the stuff I've looked at in the past. But, he's good, and he was great downfield. But that's the thing, too, where it's like, was he great downfield because they're paying so much attention to Neighbors underneath, knowing that Neighbors could break a touchdown at any moment? I think that's kind of the case. So for Thomas, like, if this is going to be the case for anybody, if he tests well at the combine, if he's got elite athletics, if the RAS score looks good, then I think you're feeling a little bit better about it. But if not, it's just, was he good just because Malik Neighbors, the gravity of Malik Neighbors sucks and everything else? I think that's the question mark. So that's the Brian Thomas breakdown. I would say probably a little bit overpriced for Brian Thomas, honestly. Like, I think we've talked about our guy Troy Franklin a lot. I think Troy Franklin going for a little bit cheaper than him doesn't make the most sense to me. Thomas maybe gets slightly higher draft capital because he's expected to be a bigger guy, more full-bodied, kind of a full-bodied wine at receiver as Brian Thomas. But I think that's where, just a little bit overvalued to me. Let's see. Shout out to Bindles here. Appreciate Bindles for super chat. May you all be splashing and playing tonight on the wonderful Valentine's Day. That sounds gross. I don't want splashing in my situation. Vaporware threatening to snipe Purdy in the chat. Do what you got to do, bud. Follow your heart. I'm probably putting him around the corner anyway because I need a running back, really. I guess I could just take Purdy and lock it up. It's probably the most valuable player for us right now. But I could try to get Purdy at an even more of a discount, selfishly. Lock up the stack. I don't have a big lean at running back here, and I don't think one makes particular more sense for me. So I'll be nice, and I'll just take Purdy here. 2 QB build, AR and Brock Purdy. We got one more pick coming around the bend. So yeah, for Brock Bowers, again, same thing as MHJ to me. And I guess to say, honestly, Malik Neighbors, like, you're paying appropriate price for these guys, knowing that the ceiling should be there. I think all of them I'm comfortable with. The one that we passed that I feel the least comfortable with, and you guys know this if you watch Splash Play regularly, if you're new here, and I'm going to try to be welcoming of that. Odunze to me is the one that I have the most question marks with out of the guys that we've passed so far. I just think that, we talked about it being a positive for Seattle, the fact they're bringing over Washington's offensive coordinator to be their offensive coordinator. Last year, Washington in college, the UW Washington, not the Commanders, forced the ball downfield at a really aggressive rate. That's obviously going to be a little bit of Michael Penix. Penix himself, though, is not the most efficient. So I kind of think that is more on the team scheme level, where the offensive coordinator is saying, hey, let's just keep chucking it and we're going to get the results. So Odunze and Penix both benefited from that. And Odunze, to me, if he's not going to be like an elite athlete, I think that he's a guy that I think he's appropriately priced for the ceiling. I think all of the rookies, for the most part, kind of appropriately priced for the ceiling, but they are just frothy. Like, they're frothy for the year-long outlook, and I think kind of a tough thing to balance. Was hoping we get Troy Franklin on the way back to make me fully done at wide receiver, but we are not going to get him once again here. Troy Franklin, my favorite receiver relative to ADP in the class, and he escapes me every time. What are you going to do? What I think Odunze's 40 time is, I think closer to a 4.6 than a 4.5. But, I'm willing to be surprised. If it's a 4.6, I think he should fall quite a bit. But we'll see. I just don't see speed with anything I've seen from him. But maybe he's losing a little bit of weight. Maybe he's doing something that'll make him a little bit more spry for that. I don't know. Decent spot to take a running back. Javonte, I'm okay with him. Jalen Warren, a little more into, though. Some question marks about the workload for sure. With Arthur Smith coming in. DeAndre Swift, the free agent. I'm actually going to lock up one more receiver here, then I'm going to go on a running back run. So Josh Downs will be our correlation with AR. So 2-0-6-1. No running backs at this point, but I think we can get on a good running back run coming up. AR, Brock Purdy, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, and Travis Kelce is the team so far, with nary a running back. A real piss boy draft here with no running backs through 9. Same page. How are you navigating Caleb Williams with minus 425 to the Bears, just assuming he goes there? I still have a little bit less certainty with that. I think that's the right way to play it if you are going to draft Caleb Williams, to try to get him with Bears and to try to get that right. But I would say in general for him, like, I wouldn't get too enthusiastic about trying to nail the Bear stack with him, just because of the fact that, like, there is a shot that they could keep Fields or they could keep both, and wouldn't be the smartest thing in the world. But frankly, the Bears have done a lot of things that are not the smartest thing in the world. So I would say try to cover your ass a little bit with that. But I think if you wanted to stack up DJ Moore with Caleb, I think it's logical. I just know that last year, like, I assumed some things that I thought Stroud was going to beat out Bryce Young at one point of the big board. So I started drafting Stroud with Panthers, and then that didn't happen. Actually, that was before the trade. I thought he was going to be in that spot, and then the Panthers were going to take him. And then they obviously, when they traded up, it was pretty clear they're going to go Bryce Young. But I think there could be some surprises still. So I wouldn't lock it in like every draft. Chop the Mitten 3 had to come over to shout you out for all you've done to help my process. Glad to see LED here doing a good job. One of the regulars in the Deposit Kingdom, right? I feel like I see you at our chat a lot there whenever I hop in. I need to be more active on there, but honestly, I've been thinking about talking to Pete about figuring out how we can make Splash Play its own Discord, because I would like to do that to make it easier to kind of give premium info and stuff out. But I need to I need to catch up with Pete in general and try not to bother him while he's in his postseason come down mode. More just dropped real quick to say Probably's cooking with gas. Shout out to our guy Jason. Again, Jason, one of the guys, one of our first signups to pay for a year. He's been playing on Probably, using our data. Check it out for yourself. Probably my sports betting data product, which is honestly doing really well. The content's been crushing lately in terms of the picks we're giving out, but also my own bankroll's been doing pretty well, and frankly, a lot better than DFS. And that's how I'm building my bankroll for best ball this year. So check it out for yourself. Tracking data from the winningest sportsbooks around the world to find the true probabilities and then grade out bets off of that. So 7-day free trial on the App Store. If you search Probably, and again, Jason is not one of my, you can see Jason was typing and you can see my hands, and he's a real human being who has supported Splash Play for a while and has really done well with it. So check out Probably. And again, save 50% as well. 7-day free trial in the App Store, or save 50% at probably.com/subscribe with that promo code SPLASH. Splash. What better Valentine's Day gift for your significant other than betting data? I don't know. I don't think we have a way to give out gift memberships, though, so you'd have to be creative. Someone say, come down. Maybe. Doesn't look fast to me, but you think under a 4.5. If he doesn't look fast to you, it's not likely he's going to be under a 4.5. I think his best case scenario is being high 4.4s. But, again, we'll see. We'll see. The eyeball test for him, I do not see a burner. Like Troy Franklin, I think Troy Franklin could get to 4.3 range. And I think that wouldn't be a surprise at all. Neighbors as well. Like he's got like at least on the field Tyreek speed. I wouldn't be shocked to see him very fast. MHJ, I think will be a little bit on the slower side, but I don't think he gets to the 4.5s. I think he'll still be 4.4s. Odunze, though, Yeah, I think that's my biggest question mark. And Brian Thomas, I think too. He's got to be fast. It's possible that he's very fast. I'm not as sold because I think he's got a better build to be fast than Odunze does. I hate this like football analysis thing where like his build. I don't like the way. I don't like the structure of that, man. Fair enough. Look, if Odunze is going to be a 4.45, I think fine. But he really was to a lesser extent than Tez Walker, but he was a will player. He was a player where they forced him the ball really aggressively, didn't stop forcing the ball. We're going past another rookie here that I don't like, Keon Coleman, just not one of the ones that I think is going to be the best player. He's young, though, so he's got a shot to be better, but that's the biggest upside for Keon Coleman to me. Need some running backs here. Devin Singletary, good outcome would be coming back to Houston. Another good outcome would be getting overpaid by another team and getting a shot to be their back. But I do think he comes back to Houston. I know there's been some things rumoring Houston go after somebody else like a Saquon. I think that would be an awful move for their team. You want a guy who's going to have some juice left, and then Saquon, just one of the guys we don't believe that. Love the content, Spags. Another real human. Thank you, Consigliere. I appreciate that. I'm always here trying to point out who's a real human and who's not here. But all you guys support the show. Look, I honestly today, because I've been down. I've been down with I don't like new people coming on to the show and this is what makes me money right now. Not a lot of money, but this is my job. This and probably the two things I'm working at the most. And it bums me out to get shown to new people and then they don't get what they're coming into and start downvoting and things. And that's not, it's not where I want the channel to be. So we'll keep working on it and we'll keep trying to find a way to make you guys who've been here forever happy and hopefully new people happy too. Ty Chandler, I think makes some amount of sense here if we're going to make that buy-in on him. Chuba Hubbard, new coaching staff, I think a little bit overvalued for the risk of what that role represents. Ty Chandler, though, he's no sure thing, but we've got the bet on Jefferson, so we're going to take this bet on Ty Chandler. Teams so far, AR and Brock Purdy at QB, Devin Singletary, Ty Chandler at running back, wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, and Josh Downs. So we're not done at wide receiver, but we're kind of done for now. Travis Kelce at tight end as well. But yeah, so you guys are regulars here. You guys are my favorite people in the world because you're the ones who get what I try to do and do it every day. And it's just one of those things where I have to do a better job indoctrinating new people, I guess. But also some people that come in, I don't like. I don't like the channels out there, or if you guys watch other content, and hopefully you do. The people that just giving their takes out, and it's you my pal Eric Lindquist. I watch his Lindy Locks video for NBA every day. And he gets these fucking comments where it's I've been feeding you every day, and all you people, you should be feeding it. Fuck it, it's me. It's just not the kind of content I want to do. And I think that's sort of the toughest part of all the stuff is you want to grow to a certain amount, you want to do that, and I got to find a way to balance it for the thing that brings me joy and then the thing that gets new people in. We need inappropriate morning content. Who upgraded Wags in the offseason? I actually did see, I think on Twitter got fed an article. Yeah, was Twitter, I think, got fed an article of all the athlete significant others and was going through. And I probably spent way too much time reading that one. Because it teased CJ Stroud's girlfriend. So interesting thing about CJ Stroud, and maybe our guy Mathology can correct me at some point. For CJ Stroud, apparently he's never had a reported girlfriend. And, that got my brain going, wouldn't it be fun if CJ Stroud were the first gay quarterback and he's fucking slinging the ball like a madman? I think that'd be a tremendous win. Carl Nassib did a lot of great things, actually did a lot of great things behind the scenes for gay guys playing football. But CJ Stroud were gay. He probably just hasn't had a girlfriend he's posted publicly or whatever. But if he were gay, drive that ADP up. Honestly, probably knowing some people out there, they drive his ADP down a little. Shout out Tyler here. We love you too. Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate that, especially the 269 chat here. Show the love for Splash Play, Squirt Squad, and our boy Spags. Thank you. Thank you. Again, guys, you guys are the ones I do it for, and I'll keep doing it for you guys every day. Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. if you're new around here. And again, I always will give you guys my takes on whether it be populist takes or not. I will give you guys my takes. And I think we're coming up on a populist take right now. More like CJ Stroud. Oh, you guys. I'll give you the jokes. I don't think I got to get them out. Good locker room banter here. Slinging the ball and balls. Now we are on CJ Stroud slinging ball. Need to get Pete off the mountain, show Splash Base some love this offseason. We need the old lady bit. Look, I don't want to bother him because people have to make their money and people have to do the stuff that they have to do with their run of things. So I love Pete. Miss talking to him on a regular basis. It's weird, when you do content every day or, as regularly as we did, he became one of the people I talk to the most in the world on a weekly basis. So I miss Pete. Love him very much, but Schedules are what schedules are. So 2 rookies here on the board. Jonathan Brooks, I think getting more to an appropriate value. ACL risk for him. Got to keep him out likely the first month of the season. But if you think he's talented enough to win a role, he could do it. Blake Corum is here. I'm not going to take Blake Corum. I can't do it after yesterday. I'm taking Kendre Miller here. So the reason I don't like Blake Corum at ADP, number one, this is an ADP driven by a lot of Michigan fans. I can tell you too, yesterday's splash play, the most disliked splash play in history. And knowing that I yell at people pretty regularly, kind of think, that's because we have the people who are really weird right now. But also Michigan fans fucking think Blake Corum's a shit. Why do I think Blake Corum is not the shit? Number one, really inefficient running back. 0.09 EPA is okay, but he's not like for college, for as good as people think he is, it's not that great. It's not as good as Bucky Irving, not as good as Audric Estime. In fact, about half of what those guys did. Got to pay attention because I'm coming up on the clock here. Blake Corum, though, talk about the Nepo baby analogy. He was a Nepo baby. He got 3.6 rushes inside the red zone per game. Only guy who was higher out of all the guys in the rookie class coming in is Cody Schrader. So for Blake Corum, he basically got handed a lot of touchdowns. Wasn't that great with them. So I think that's part of the issue I have with them. Again, Bucky Irving, more juice. Bucky Irving, a guy that I'm going to take here as my 4th running back. Bucky Irving, a 34% avoided tackle rate. Blake Corum, a 10% avoided tackle rate, which is lower than everybody in the class besides Austin Jones and Nakia Watson. And Nakia Watson probably not to get drafted. Austin Jones, the much lesser of USC's running backs. So this is why I talk about this stuff here, is not because I have like a vendetta against Blake Corum. I actually thought Blake Corum last year, if he had come out, would have been my top graded running back. But that also sticks in mind for me, where he was so well graded for me last year, and now he's come down in every aspect, and the other running back looked better. Like visually, the numbers for him look better. Edwards or whatever the fuck his name is. So like that's Blake Corum to me. I think he's really overvalued because he's part of a populist team. Michigan is about as public as a team as you could be. Like them in Ohio State are about as public as could be, and guys get driven up as a result. So that's the real reason for Blake Corum here, is like he got fed a lot of touchdowns. He was much worse than the same back in the same offense who broke fucking 50-yard touchdowns. And he's just too small. He's too small to have a 10% avoided tackle rate. A 10% avoided tackle rate for comparison in the NFL, that was guys like Joe Mixon last year. And that's in the NFL with a 10% avoided tackle rate. If you can only put up a 10% avoided tackle rate in college and you're small, sustained damage, you're not going to look good in practice. You're not going to show a lot there. So his out now is that he gets good draft capital, and that inertia of that keeps him going. I just don't think he does at a measured 5'8", 210. Let's see what he is at the combine. If he's 5'7" and 195, or even if he's 200, just not that dude that's being drafted at the correct ADP. Don't love Trey Benson either, but I would take Benson ahead of him. I'd take Bucky Irving, as I've mentioned. Estime, you guys know him in the bag for big Audric Estime. Our guy Bindles pointed out Noah, whatever the fuck his name is. Noah More Parties. Gen Z version of me, I feel like it's it with more reach. But yeah, Noah apparently a big fan of Audric Estime too. I think the comp for Audric Estime is an in shape, a fit Leonard Fournette who cares about how he looks and how he plays. So those are guys that, to me, it's like these are like real running backs with real merits, and Blake Corum is being driven up by being a brand name college, and it's one of my least favorite things for sure. Dude is mid. Yeah, he is. But honestly, he's not bad. It's just like not bad isn't great, and not bad and small is very much not great. And then, like fucking in his stands act like he's Bijan. Obviously, he's not going at a Bijan rate, but like he'll be going after the combine. He'll safely go in the 160s, 170s. Take your bets on him there. But like honestly, I'd rather have Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd's got more juice. But whatever, we'll find out. Everybody can be right. I just think fundamentally, based off what I know, I think I'm going to be more right. Tyler Algier, not a bad pick here. Braylon Allen, another running back that's just kind of big. But you know what? I still like him more than Blake Corum. I think Braylon Allen, what he has going for him is that he's gigantic and fairly nimble for a gigantic guy. Braylon Allen, a very big man, clocked at 6'2", 245. We'll see what he comes in at the combine, but an 18% avoided tackle rate. So I just think like it's such a bad sign, man. Like you can't be small and not miss tackles. 10% avoided tackle rate. We're at 18% for Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen's large. Braylon Allen's like almost tight end sized. Like, whatever. Lloyd over Corum. Marshawn Lloyd, Paulino's favorite back. Big NBA slate, never gets the same time. It is a lot of NBA today. But yeah, I'm actually probably not going to play NBA. I was doing the Underdog Battle Royals. Actually got in the Gladiator thing for the week, but I don't want to, I don't know. Got to see what Underdog's given me in terms of my my rate for the year before I start going too heavy on NBA. For Underdog, at least. All right. I'm focused on betting too. Like I'm just gonna make my bankroll off of betting. That's how I want to approach this offseason. DFS is hard. Tyler Algier still here, 2.561. Think he would make sense. Do you need a second tight end at some point? But I know that he's a better player than my boy, Ben Sinnott. I won't say our boy. I'm going to take Algier here. Again, a shot with a new coaching staff that he gets a role. I do think it's more likely that Bijan consolidates a lot of that backfield, but you got to take some stabs at both guys. Some guys that we passed by the way, ETR article that I talked about with Sam Sherman and whoever that Pro Football Doc is. That's not the guy who calls himself Pro Football Doc. Talked about Keaton Mitchell being a guy that probably going to be out the first half of the year, but because of his age, should be close to a full recovery. So I don't hate Keaton Mitchell that much at ADP. And frankly, probably another guy I would take over Blake Corum, really. Corum and ADP, not great. Like you said, if he goes the mid 15th or 16th, fine pick. If he goes where Deuce Vaughn got steamed up to last year, I think that's completely fine. Like he was still an okay running back. It's just like he was an okay running back that got every opportunity to be an okay running back. And, I like guys that get that like kind of earned that role more so and show more. And when you have the direct comparison, part of the reason I like Roschon last year is a lot of his numbers look similar to Bijan, and both guys ended up being pretty good this year. Neither was an outlier performer necessarily relative to their ADPs. Both guys acquitted themselves well, doing the same thing in the backfield. For Corum to be worse than the other running back there, and another year of getting older, I don't know, just a lot of things that I don't love relative to how frothy people are. But I think that's how I feel about everything that you should be doing with best ball is I will take Blake Corum. I've taken Blake Corum on stream, but you have to then balance that out with what you think is the real value of these guys. So you don't take Blake Corum in every draft because you don't believe in him. And I think for guys you do believe in, you try to take a little bit more. No Lad McConkey, C- draft. There you go. Adam, our guy, in the bag for Big Lad McConkey. Tez Walker, I think appropriately priced. A lot of questions about him. He and Malachi Corley, in terms of the rookies here, kind of the exact opposite ends of the spectrum. Malachi Corley, very low ADOT guy who commanded targets at a pretty high rate. Malachi Corley, where is he at? I'm on running backs. Yeah, Corley, 35% target route run rate, but only a 5.7 ADOT. By comparison, Tez Walker, where are you at, Devontae? Tez Walker, a very low target route run rate, 25%, but 18 intended air yards per target. So those two guys, exact opposite thing. I think that Tez Walker, my concern about him is that he was really propped up by Drake May being a very willing, very aggressive downfield thrower. For Malachi Corley, the hope is that he becomes Wan'Dale Robinson in the pros. Positive Senior Bowl reviews. I don't think he's got the most juice in the world. What was his avoided tackle rate? Yeah, it's 19% avoided tackle rate for a guy that's getting a lot of low ADOT throws, going to basically be getting kind of running back targets. I think is not the best. If he gets draft capital, he'll be a more interesting player. I think he's appropriately priced right now. And Tez Walker, I think Tez Walker should be ahead of Roman Wilson. I think Roman Wilson is one of those guys that's me at ADP. Just a little bit overvalued too because of the good Senior Bowl. And we've talked about that a lot. The recency bias of guys, any news item that's positive about them, they all get steamed up. All right, we got QBs on the board. Another tight end. We do have this bet on Tennessee. Let's see. I'm going to take I'm going to take Okonkwo here, and I might take Will Levis. I'm not sure that I have to do that at this point, but if we have Chig, we have Hopkins, I think Levis on the wrap wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, and get to a 3.662, maybe a 3.663, and then have a few more luxury spots. I think it's pretty good. Tez is undervalued based on draft capital. Tez is undervalued based on assumed draft capital, which I wouldn't lock him in for that being the case. I think that teams, when they start to paw at him a little bit, will see that, again, if he's a freak athlete, this is going to be true of anybody here. Well, guys we talk about, if they're a freak athlete at the combine, it changes the equation completely for him. But assuming that he's not a freak athlete, I think that he'll be a guy that you look at the numbers and you dig into the advanced analytics and these staffs start to wrap their heads around it. And they're going to separate it out because he had the most air yards in football last year, or at least out of all the guys in the draft class. So for him to be as kind of mid as he was getting that opportunity, whereas Marvin Harrison got a lot less, Neighbors got a lot less, even though Odunze got less. All right. Levis is still here. I think this is a good pick. Will Levis willing to buy in on the shot that Brian Callahan can get him in the right pathway to things? Can he be Joe Burrow? Probably not, but can he be a better version of Will Levis? I think this is a good coordinator to get him there. So willing to take Callahan here and hope that good run game that we expect in Tennessee once again with the Callahan boys. Of course, his dad, Bill Callahan, that I'm very familiar with because one of my closest friends has been lifelong friends with his family. So yeah, they're going to establish the run, and then they're also going to probably have success passing it, like we saw this year for Jake Browning. Jake Browning was not, I think, a better prospect than Will Levis, and Will Levis, we'll see. Not a Will Levis guy, but I think he got a pretty good outcome in terms of his coach coming in. Steve Smith gave the seal of approval for Malachi. Okay, good to know. Which Steve Smith? Is it New York Giants Steve Smith, or is it the one that actually does media on Underdog? Like it or not, the JJ McCarthy steam has started. I have seen that. I saw I don't know if you guys watched the Fantasy Pro stuff, but I did see that those guys, Derek Brown and Thor and Joku, whatever the fuck his name is, the Thor guy, they were talking about McCarthy and teasing, I guess, what the comp was. For me, the comp would be, I think Drew Brees is the comp, but I think that for Bo Nix too. Guys who don't force the ball downfield aggressively, but are really efficient underneath and seem like guys that can run an offense that is kind of complicated. And a lot of dig routes, a lot of stuff underneath. Those are guys that I think all kind of look the same to me, but McCarthy being 20 years old and being that, that efficient at running an offense in Michigan, he was it's funny. He's I like McCarthy a lot. I think I'm actually a little bit over what the public thinks about him. If we New England were old New England, McCarthy would be the perfect QB for him. He would win them games. He would not fuck things up. He would let the defense do what it has to do. And he'd take advantage when he has to. I think McCarthy is not the most fun fantasy QB. He's not going to run. He's not going to get the ball downfield every single play like Jaden Daniels will. And he's going to have the Mahomes style plays like Caleb Williams will. But McCarthy's he's a real QB, and him being 20 and these guys are all 23. It's a pretty big advantage. No Bo. All right. Felix has the time with no Bo. I would say McCarthy over Bo, though Bo analytically was the best offense runner in college football last year. Jaden Daniels is more electric, gets the ball downfield, more things that I value in a fantasy QB. But Bo Nix, in terms of what he did for Oregon, just efficient everywhere in the field. But McCarthy, similar things. But again, he's McCarthy's 3 or 4 years younger than Bo Nix. So you're going to get coming up here, Vaporware. Took Jatavian Sanders, took Dameon Pierce. So 2 interesting picks for him. Ricky Pearsall. We can bring back the Florida AR stack with Ricky Pearsall. Don't need a 4th QB, the JJ McCarthy. Still going for free. He's going to have the hugest upside game to game, though, so I can get why you wouldn't want to draft him. Maybe the Colts take Pearsall as Alec Pierce insurance, knowing that AR fed him pretty well. I really thought that Pearsall was a guy who was propped up by AR forcing the ball downfield, and then he had another good year this year without AR. So Pearsall's had some positives. Not one of my favorite guys in the draft, but 0.473 EPA, not a big target earner, 23.6% target per route run rate. Getting targeted downfield, though, he was great. 0.92 EPA on throws to 20-plus air yards. 0.78 EPA passes sticks, throws to 10 to 20 air yards. Not a red zone target hound, just 0.8 red zone targets per game. But Pearsall, I think one of those guys, probably better in the 19th or 20th round, but you could take him in drafts. Yeah, Pearsall, that was the thing when I watched as much AR as I did last year. I was Pearsall's not bad, but I kind of filed away these Florida guys were dog shit. And then to see Pearsall again this year make some similar plays, think a little bit less upside. He wasn't getting as wide open as AR got him, I think, because, AR, the ability to run kind of sucks things underneath a little bit more. But yeah, I'd say that for Pearsall, I was surprised to see him do that well this year with a pretty big QB downgrade. That said, I think that Alec Pierce is perfectly cromulent at this age as well. Alec Pierce, we'll get an Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, 2 outs here for potential deep ball guys in Indianapolis. And I think we could take a tight end or a running back, probably a running back here. Would like to get to 7. But the team so far, Anthony Richardson and Brock Purdy, love of my life AR, back here for Valentine's Day. Brock Purdy as well. Will Levis. Brock Purdy, by the way, could get paid this year. We'll find out. Devin Singletary, Ty Chandler, Kendre Miller, Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen, Tyler Algier. Running back room leaves a little bit to be desired. I think with this one, we are hoping that Alvin Kamara is a cap casualty, which is a pretty decent probability. So Kendre Miller probably comes up 70 spots if there isn't a replacement back in New Orleans and Kamara gets cut. So I think Kendre Miller kind of undervalued right now in terms of ADPs. Liked him a lot last year, had a lot of juice coming in, just didn't get the opportunity to earn the role because of injuries. We've talked about it enough. Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen, Tyler Algier. I forget if I read all the names. Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, Ricky Pearsall, and Alec Pierce, a wide receiver. Have a really nice floor at receiver with Jefferson, Ayuk, Deebo, DeAndre Hopkins, Watson if he can be healthy. And then I think some spike week guys here with AR. So I like the logic. And a Kelsey at tight end, just too cheap to me. Kelsey and Chig. And Chig, hopefully he'll make some strides, though. Chig, to me, one of those guys that could go either way. If Tennessee brings in another tight end and then Chig kind of gets bumped down, wouldn't be a shocker. Don't think he showed enough last year, but I think Chig is young, or at least his listed age is young. Chig Okonkwo, yeah, 24 years old for Chig. So getting in that range for a guy who did not play tight end young in his life, that maybe he can break out. So I'm okay with Okonkwo. JJ, the Vikings or Falcons is a great fit. I would prefer Jaden Daniels to both, but I agree that he would be a good consolation prize for both. I think Bo Nix would be an okay one. I think Bo Nix in Denver, to me, like that's the most one-to-one. Now that we know that he can't go to New Orleans and replace Derek Carr. Sucks AR got hurt. Nobody flew the AR flags like Spags. He was on the crush season. Yeah, look, I'm happy to see him come back. I do think that now it sucks to be getting him where he's priced. I don't think he's priced for his ceiling. Like he's still probably got a little bit of wiggle room there, given the fact that he was the top fantasy point scorer per quarter last year. So the hope would be that he can be QB1 this year. But he's now priced for where he should be, I think. I guess you could make the case that based on what he did last year, he should probably go ahead of Stroud. I think Mahomes, he should probably go ahead of Mahomes, honestly, based off the per game production, but Mahomes will always carry a good ADP because of what he represents in the upside. I think Mahomes, though, is kind of past the stage in his career where unless that defense is awful, I just don't think he's going to throw for like 300 plus yards that often. Like if it's a game like Super Bowl, he's going to do it. If it's a normal game where the defense can carry him and that defense can hold and they can keep it at that level moving forward, which will be tough. I just think Mahomes, the value is not going to be there because he's learning now the thing that QBs learn, which is that you don't have to throw for 400 yards. You can just win throwing for 200. And I don't know, like Tom Brady learned that pretty well. All right, let's see what we got here. It's close to zero. Oh, on Chig. Okay. They were talking about ARs. Huge on Chig this year. Correct price. Yeah, I agree. The price is a lot better. I think it was really frothy last year. He was really efficient per target the year before last, so I get how that could happen. But to me, I just think that he was a little bit overvalued. So we got one more spot left. Running back would be good, but running back is ass right now. Eric Gray could end up the Giants starter potentially if Saquon were to leave. But I think it's a Ben Sinnott spot for me. Ben Sinnott, a guy, again, great numbers, very good in advanced analytics, but is somebody that has to show the athleticism at the combine. But he's going to have Luke Musgrave size, so I hope he shows the athleticism. Final team here, AR, Brock Purdy, Will Levis at QB, Devin Singletary, Ty Chandler, Kendre Miller, Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen, and Tyler Algier at running back. Definitely too thin at running back for a 20-round draft, but what are we going to do? Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, Josh Downs, Ricky Pearsall, Alec Pierce at wide receiver, and a tight end, Travis Kelce, Chig Okonkwo, and Ben Sinnott. That is our team for the day here. Team number 12 for me. Guys, I really do hope if you have a loved one in your life, hope you have a fantastic Valentine's Day. If you don't, hope you just have a good Wednesday. Don't feel bad about it. Just enjoy yourself today. Have some fun with it. Guys, please do smash that like button before you go as well. I should probably pull up the GIF because that helps. Smash that like button, subscribe as well. Again, Splash Play. If you watch this entire video, if you're watching now, you're the kind of person I want here. You're willing to take contrarian takes. You're willing to hear about guys that maybe you like and willing to listen to different opinions. That's what we do here on Splash Play. I'm very willing to do it. Just got to give me more about what you believe, what you do. I think that's really it. But appreciate all of you guys being here. Smash that like button. Help us fight the negative bullshit on YouTube. People have too much free time on their hands, but I'm going to be here every day using my free time to talk about fantasy football. Underdog, promo code SPLASH will double your deposit to $100. Get you mystery pickups. So if you're not signed up on there, do that right now. Stochastic, a great tool, a bunch of great tools and data to use for yourself as well. If you're playing DFS, I would use their data for anything. I would swear by the Sims tools, and they have more and more Sims now. I think they have NASCAR and MLB coming up next in addition to PGA. And I know I'll be putting in lineups for PGA again because it's just easy money using the Sims tools. Between us, not enough people use the Sims tools for PGA, for MMA, for I'm sure for NASCAR, not going to be enough as well. So you actually have a pretty good advantage. Throw in some 20 maxes to win some money off of that. So that's what I would recommend for Stochastic if you wanted some added value yourself, as well as help us get some money in for the channel. And of course, probably is my personal baby. Again, really great data that we have in there. It's working really well. I felt like I sounded like Trump with that one. Really great data. It's going to help you win a lot. But check it out for yourself, probably.com. 7-day free trial. If you search Probably on the App Store, that's the best way to get in if you don't want to spend a single dollar. And if you want to support the show, support Splash Play, support Probably, support Spags Enterprises, use the promo code SPLASH and get 50% off on any monthly or yearly package. That means getting all of our data for under $100 for a year. So some people have taken advantage of that lately, and hopefully we'll have more of you guys do that. Shouts to the Squirt Squad. I have to update with the new names, but I know we have a couple new people in as well. So let me give them their kudos here. Thomas and Jonathan, I didn't get you on the sheet yet, but I will do it for tomorrow. So thank you guys, all you fine folks helping us do this every day. $5 a month, support the show, hitting that join button down below. And of course, the reading of names here will go off on Friday. But Thomas and Jonathan, I fucked over by not updating the graphic today. I appreciate all you guys being here with me. Really and truly from the bottom of my heart as always. So let's do it again tomorrow, same time. See you guys then. Enjoy your days. And of course, good luck. Bye. Happy Valentine's Day.